intro today. Doing a little update. I was seeing that my how-to video on Wireshark installation was looking a little long in the tooth. It was from version 3.2, and there's not a lot substantially different or at all in terms of the installation, but some updates and some cool new stuff, and I wanted to kind of add that in here and just have this be, up to date. So current version as of today is 4.4.0. And if you want to read more about the version history, what have been the changes to the protocols that are supported, there's some syntax difference. And when I talk a little while from now about profiles, if you're using some older profiles, you're going to see that some of the syntax in buttons and things you might have saved might no longer be working. And there's some changes that are easy to make with that. It's a couple new features in the last couple of versions that are really cool if you haven't used. But so that's our agenda. Do some installation for both Windows and Mac. And then talk about packet comments, the packet diagram, multi-field columns, little buttons and button groups, just to mention that real quickly. Okay, so first off, Windows. So I got Windows 11 running in VirtualBox here, and that's what I'm going to use for my guinea pig. Now, I already had Wireshark on here, 4.2.6, but I'm uninstalling everything. I'm going to include the personal settings and then the other USB cap and PCAP here to make sure that I can demonstrate for you the most thorough install. All right, now we're going over to Wireshark.org. So we see there's a link for download and some merch and learn about it. Get some help. There's a forum. There's the documentation. There's the wiki. There's a place to post bugs. And then big download. And there's a little video on some of the changes in version 4.0. If you want to donate to this nonprofit, which maintains the number one with a bullet, been for years, the number one protocol analyzer in the world. So we're going to download Windows 64 installer, and then that's what I'm going to use to install here. And double click that. Not sure why I'm seeing I want to allow this app. Yes, I do. Welcome to Wireshark 4.4. Click next, and yes, noted. Wireshark Foundation, next. Now, what are the features that I want to install? Well, I want Wireshark, and then I want T-Shark, and I want the external capture tools. I'm not using Android dump. I'm not using UDP dump. There are some external capture tools, XTCAP, and I'm just going to take this default, and I'm going to take the default location for installing it. I'm going to have a desktop icon and a start menu icon, and I want all of the normal trace file formats to be associated with Wireshark. So whether it's a PCAP or a PCAP-NG or a PKT or some of the other formats from older or different capture devices and applications, they'll all open up in Wireshark, and I'm going to take my nominal location under program files for that, and we're going to install npcap as well. It's currently installed USB PCAP, and I want to install USB PCAP as well. I want the most capabilities that I can. Whether or not they're supported on the given hardware on a particular computer is another question. And Wireshark 4 is being installed. And we see that stuff happening. And then there'll be a pause in that installation to install this particular item Do I want to restrict that license to administrators only? No. Now I've logged on here as an administrator, and that's especially in Windows. It's important that you be using an administrator identity to do the installation. Do I want to support RAW 802.11 in monitor mode for wireless adapters? Yes, I do. And I want to install NPCAP in API compatible mode. I think I'm going to leave that unchecked. And that's done, so I can click next. And now we're finished up with that. And now the actual Wireshark is finishing install. And I got a note that a reboot is required before installation. Okay. Now, it is often the case. It's always a good idea when you install software, especially stuff that has associated drivers or anything, to shut down the computer and to boot it, to cold boot it, to make sure that the operating system has noticed everything that might be new or different. I closed the other Firefox window behind here. And I'm going to click next, and we're completing that setup. Do I want to open the release notes? Here's where I would take note of what might be new or different, or additional protocols that are now being supported. We finish, and I see I've got up here upper left, I've got an icon here, and I actually have an icon here in the start, in the bar at the bottom. And let me just open that up, and I want to make sure, oh, actually I meant to reboot first, didn't I? To make sure that I'd have all of the available operational capabilities of this. So let's do that. So I'm shutting down. I'm not just doing a restart, in other words, a warm boot. That is not necessarily going to have the complete effect of making the operating system take a thorough look at what's going on here to see if there's anything different. Okay, so we've shut down, rebooted, and two things I'm going to do to check to see that Wireshark is going on here. I'm going to open it up here and see if I can see some packets. So here I'm seeing a spark line, which indicates that this is the logical or physical interface which is sending and receiving packets. And if I double click this, then I should start to capture packets, and I'll see some stuff. There we go. I've got some packets going on, and I can even generate some packets. Let me open up my command line and say, let's ping CNN.com. And I'm getting some replies there. Of course, Windows only does 4 and then it quits. But let me go back over here and see, I'm seeing my ICMP packets here. Ping, request, reply, request, reply. So we're working pretty well there, aren't we? So I'm going to quit out of there, quit without saving. So I'd like to check and make sure that the command line tools have been installed as a part. So let's see, man, T-Shark. See if we've got, oh, I'm not in a bash terminal, am I? Okay, so T-Shark is in there, and T-Shark is working. That is the command line capture. So we're capturing here. And we can see that T-Shark is through the command line operation without the graphical user interface that uses a lot of resources. So we could capture larger volumes of packets without losing any packets due to CPU time to run the graphic user interface. Of course, for the command line tools, we use those in the Wireshark class. We go through and make use of all the command line tools. Not so much in some of the other classes. There's a lot there for you to learn. But we have verified that we've got Wireshark installed. It is seeing a physical interface. It is able to capture packets, and the command line tools are installed. So we're good to go. So I'm going up to Johannes Weber's blog here to capture his version, latest version of the Ultimate PCAP, which is a collection of not so much complete conversations, but examples of many, many different protocols, which is very useful in learning about them. And we're going to go and open that zip file up, and we're going to open that 12 meg, is it? We were loading that. There's 40,000 packets here. Now, yeah, there's kind of a bug here in VirtualBox that tries to think I'm trying to drag from Mac OS into Windows 11 here. So we can see this is kind of a weird little default profile. We can see here is the hexadecimal values for the various fields and the field values in them. And this is the standard default profile, the way of viewing data in Wireshark in the current version. Now I'm going to show a Mac install in a bit, but I'm not going to uninstall all of my personal configurations on the Mac here before doing that install. So what I did was uninstall all the customizations, my personal configurations, so that you would see what it looks like when it's brand new. So want to look at a couple of different things: packet diagram, packet comments, and then buttons and button groups. Okay, so I've got the Ultimate PCAP here on my desktop. I'm going to open that up. We're going to take a quick look at it, and we're coming up with this kind of funky, to me, Verdana is where it's at, really. Font and size and stuff, and you know, we can make the font bigger. I'm going to right click on one of these columns and see what are the columns that are available. Not very many: a number, a time, a source, destination, protocol length, and general info in the default. And do we have any others? No. Actually, well, it did find it, didn't it? Oh, it found a whole bunch of stuff. So it did. Oh, I guess the removal did not actually remove what I thought it was going to remove. Well, all the files about Wireshark are in different folders. If I go with the Windows version about Wireshark here, I'm going to see a link to folders, and I'm going to see here's where the different kinds of things are located. Now, what I'm concerned about here is the personal configuration. And if I open this folder, I'm going to see what are the profiles that are currently defined here. And so it did not actually get rid of these when I got rid of the previous version. So I already have a bunch of profiles here. I'm actually going to trash them all just for the sake of demonstration here. Quit Wireshark. Make sure then when I open it up, it will go and say, oh, what profiles do I have? And I've got a default profile, which is in the global configuration. And there's a Bluetooth and a classic and no reassembly. But other than that, whoa. Well, profiles are very powerful. The way of displaying this information here, different columns that represent different fields, different fonts, different information displayed for you by default. So in all of my classes, I'm going to be giving out a number of profiles that are already defined. So, and here's a folder with a full set of profiles in here. And I've modified some of these and given them the 24 number. And so the way of adding profiles is really simply just dragging them into that folder that contains your personal configuration. So if I go to About Wireshark, click on Folders, double click Open My Personal Configuration, and then double click Open My Profiles, all I need to do is drag a profile into this folder, and it is there. So let's grab all of these, and I'm going to put them in there just to show you a couple of different things. So you're going to want to set your personal configuration right away, and one of the things that you may very well want to do is to, let me show, let's see. So here's a configuration I like, and this is actually a little big for this display, so I can size that down a little bit. So size these over, size these over. I am seeing a diagram of the packet here. And then I'm seeing that field's value in hex. Well, that's okay. What about if I'm just sort of not necessarily wanting to know what it is in hex, but just am more interested in just in the structure? Here's the structure of the fields. Well, that's actually the opposite way. My new default is what I really wanted. There we go. That shows me the list of fields, and then also the diagram of the packet, which makes it really nice to be thinking about the structure of the packet and what's inside the encapsulation at each layer is pictured for you, and then by clicking on that spot in the address resolution protocol packet section, I can see what the field names are here, and I can see the values here as well. So as we get farther into Wireshark and do different things, you're going to find that stuff really handy. But we've completed what we wanted to do, which is do an install, make sure our command line tools are operational, and bam, there we go. Mac OS. So let's go on over to Wireshark. And for Mac OS, same thing. I'm going to go to download. I'm going to get the Intel disk image or the ARM disk image, depending upon what processor I have. I have a Intel in this Mac Mini that I'm using here. Open up the installer, and it's just, you drag it in. That's all. And then there's a couple other things I want to, if this is the first time you're putting it in there, you'll want to run this install the chmod to change the rights of some of the files and install Wireshark to the system path. If it is not automatic in there, there's a README in here. And that's about it for the Mac. Now, the default location is in the applications folder, and that bundle should include our command line tools. Now, this is a bash terminal, so I can do my man pages, tshark, and I got my man page for that. And -H for help. I've got my tshark, and there we go. So let's go back, and here's my application. I can see that I've got a bunch of different logical interfaces on here. Now, if I don't have permission to capture on the interface, then I need to run that installing the changed the permissions. And let's quit and start again. And now I'm seeing my spark line here, right? So now Wireshark has access at layer 2 to be able to see packets that are coming in through the interface before they go up into the operating system. And I could start capturing packets. And let me put my new default on here. Bam. There we go. Capturing packets, making sure I'm getting some things. Let me just go here. How about ping cnn.com and see what we got here. We're starting to see our ICMPs. There's a bunch of other junk going on in the background as well. Cool. We're good. So some of the features that we might talk about in additional jobs using Wireshark would be making packet comments. For instance, let's open up Wireshark here. And I've stopped that. So PCAP NG Next Generation has the ability to add metadata. If I right click on this and I want to add a packet comment to it, blah, blah. If I'm finding things and I want to make note of that, packet comments are very cool. Now we see there's a new field in here that Wireshark has called packet comments. So often there might be a job to, capture these things and find these pieces of information and then make a packet comment. Let me make another packet comment here. And then, well, how about we filter on packet comments? I made a few more packet comments. My type down. PKT underscore comment, filter. Now what I see, out of my 20,024 packets, there's only 4 currently displayed. So it'll often be the case where what I want is the stuff I was looking for, and all the other stuff I ended up capturing, I don't really want to see in this new file that I'm going to save out of here by saying export specified packets. Bam. My report, bam, and then if I go back and open up now my new file that I've saved out with a different name, all I see are the packets that were interesting to me, the ones that I was supposed to find as a part of my job. Bam, there you go. And then of course, a lot of the very cool profiles that I have here are for doing particular things. So I might search through all kinds of packets to find this and do different kinds of filters and that. And then do I have to remember all that stuff? No, I can simply save those as buttons. So let me go back to an old Wireshark trace file here. So if what I want to do is look for SYN packets, or what I want to do is look for client hellos in TLS or server hellos, if I want to do is look for particular things, I can filter on them. Having figured out how to do that, I can create buttons, and even nested buttons of groups of buttons that are similar in their function. So a very common thing to do with the Power profiles is to create a profile to find particular problems. If I'm looking at voice over IP, then there's going to be different field types in a VoIP file than there will be in a HTTP file. And when I have already defined those, I can save that as a separate profile that will quickly allow me for Bluetooth, incident response, for looking at Cisco devices. I'm going to open up the Ultimate PCAP here, which has a lot of different protocols in it, and specifically for that, I'm going to look at my VoIP profile, and let me look for VoIP packets. Oh, look at that. That is not a valid filter. But RTSP is. Unfortunately, that's interesting. There's no RTSP packets in the Ultimate. Okay, well, let's look for something else. Let me go to my wireless LAN profile, which has channel, source, SSID, frequency, signal to noise ratio, values that are present in wireless packets when we're capturing in monitor mode. And let me go to my, when I'm looking for selective acknowledgement information or selective acknowledgement problems, I can use my TCP SAC profile, which then has buttons for what I'm looking for. I could look for, if I'm looking for Nmap. Ooh, this is interesting. This is an older filter, and in the current version of Wireshark, I'm getting a message saying there are definitions, coloring definitions and coloring rules that don't work with the current version of Wireshark. So pretty cool. You're going to see that in some of the older profiles if you have some. But anyway, the point being, I can have a lot of different columns, and I don't have to be resetting them and figuring them out, and I can have a lot of different buttons, and I don't have to be remembering them, because I can save all that as a unique profile for finding particular problems. If I'm having problems with DNS, here's my DNS profile, and it's already set up with the columns that are going to be most interesting to me, and with the buttons and the sets of buttons that are going to be most interesting to me when I'm looking for aspects or problems with this one particular protocol. Same thing with DHCP. Okay. Latency, handshake, retransmissions, window size. Very cool. Very cool. So don't be afraid to make yourself some new profiles, to delve down into the documentation and learn a little bit more about what fields are available in various protocols and how to display them, or what display filters are available for different fields and different field values, and then save those as buttons. Have a lot of fun. So there you go. That's getting Wireshark in, getting the latest Wireshark in. Easy installation for Mac for sure, and pretty easy installation for Windows as well. Enjoy. We'll see you on the net.